Welcome back.
I'm Mark.
And I'm Sharon.
And we are Ponderosa Garden Adventures.
We're glad you joined us. We had a really prolific year for peppers this year. We're really excited about that. I think everybody had the past couple of years we've been kind of iffy on the peppers. Last year they were coming back. This year was just fantastic year for peppers, and Mark is a hot pepper aficionado, and I thought it would be fun, since he grew large variety, for him to give us his top 5 and kind of give us a little bit of information about each of the peppers, why he liked those, and maybe if he's got some honorable mentions or why he wouldn't grow some of the others again.
So, before I get started, I'm just going to mention that during the video I'm going to talk about Scoville units, and it's a scale that's used to measure how hot a pepper is. And you don't need to really know what the units mean, just know that like a jalapeno is a mild pepper at about 3,000 Scoville units. A habanero is about 200,000, so about 100 times hotter than that. And a Carolina Reaper's 2 million, that's about 800 times hotter. So when I talk about the units, the bigger the number, the hotter the pepper. So with that said, let's go into my top 5. And my number 1 pepper that I like to grow is the jalapeno, the ubiquitous jalapeno. It's a green pepper. It's got a thick skin, a really good flavor. I love the flavor. It's a real peppery, like a bell pepper. It's my favorite topping on pizzas, and I love a plate of nachos with just some chips, some cheddar cheese, and wheels of jalapenos on it. So a jalapeno is about 3,000 to 5,000 Scoville units. It's got a good heat. It bites though very immediately. You feel the heat right away. And if there's one thing that's a drawback to the jalapenos, I would say, is that the heat is kind of inconsistent. So I've had some that were very, very hot, almost too hot for me, and some that are really mild, almost like a bell pepper. And they can be on the same plant, different heat on the same plant, or from plant to plant. It varies a lot. But I do like to grow them because they grow very well in Zone 10B. They're very easy to grow. You can just even grow them from seeds from a store-bought jalapeno, but I usually grow them from bought seeds or from starts. Usually what we do actually is we find the starts in front of the 99-cent store.
Right. I like to get the plants there. We're very lucky, at least the one near us has very healthy plants, and so we get quite a few plants from there. Flowers, tomatoes, peppers, and the only drawback is that you just don't know what they're going to have from year to year. This year I was very excited because they had a jalapeno gigante, and so that's been great fun for us because they're much bigger, and it's just been a very good plant.
So the next hottest pepper on my list is the cayenne pepper, and I have cayenne / serrano because, as Sharon said, it kind of depends on what they have. They usually have one or the other. We kind of prefer the cayenne. The cayenne is a small red pepper, long and thin, and it has a very thin skin, which makes it ideal for drying.
Yeah, typically, we occasionally will pick them and cut them right up and put them in a chili if we don't have any in the house drying. But I usually, when 3 or 4 are ready, I take those and I just put them on a bowl on the counter and then just let them naturally dry out. And you can just crumble them right into, your stir fry or your chili or whatever you're making.
Cayenne's about 30 to 50,000, so about 10 times as hot as jalapeno, so you're not going to use as much. And serrano is a little hotter than that, so we typically like the cayennes a little better. It's a little more manageable heat. And it's a really good flavor. It's a slow heat, so be careful because it will build on you, but it's got a really good, nice warmth to it. So the next one on my list is probably the first of what I consider the super hot peppers, the habanero. Now the habanero is much hotter. It's bright orange when it's ripe, and it grows very well in the Zone 10B. I've grown them in various climates, and they're fairly easy to grow. So that's one reason that I do recommend the habanero. It's one of my favorite. It grows well, and I usually get a pretty good crop, at least 10 or 15 peppers on each plant. Now, the one thing about habaneros is they have a very strong flavor, very citrusy, vinegary kind of flavor, and it's not my favorite, So, and it's also very, very hot. We're talking about 200 to 300,000 on the Scoville unit. So now we're talking about close to 100 times hotter than a jalapeno. So you have to be really, really careful with them. So typically what I do with my habaneros, I like to make hot sauce with them. Just grind them up and just simmer them with some carrots and vinegar for a long period of time, then bottle them up, and then I can mix it with some other hot sauce and get just the right flavor and heat. Then, so that's the first three. Number four is going to be the ghost pepper. The ghost pepper is something new. I've only been growing it for a few years. And it's a little hotter. It's the next level is around 1 million to 1.5 million on the Scoville unit scale. Now you're talking more about 500 times as hot as a jalapeno. The ghost pepper is a small, very small pepper, sometimes very small, dark red when they're ripe, and they have a really good flavor and a slow burn, and so I like everything about them. The one drawback is they're really, really late bloomers. I learned that I just have to be patient, and I'm just now getting my first ghost pepper. So my last one for this season was the Trinidad Scorpion. This was my first year growing the Trinidad Scorpion. It's again a small pepper with a waxy, thick waxy skin. Turns dark red but goes through a lot of different colors. Starts out green, then yellow, orange, and red before it's finally the red color. I used some in a chili this weekend. I put 2 or 3. I'll put some video here showing you. And it was a really good heat. Now, I like things very spicy. For most people, this would be probably way too hot. But for me, it was a good, slow build. And again, just 2 or 3 of those in a whole pot of chili, like a gallon of chili, was enough. So that would be my 5 recommendations: the jalapeno, the Cayenne or Serrano, a habanero, a ghost, and a Trinidad. And you're kind of covering all the different heats with those 5. Some of the ones that didn't make the cut, I did grow a Scotch Bonnet, which is another pepper that's similar to a habanero. It's a small orange pepper, but a little bit hotter, more maybe like 250, 300, whereas a habanero might be about 200. So not quite twice as hot. But when I used them this year in a stir fry, they seemed very, very hot. They seemed hotter than the 250, 300. So one or the other. It seemed redundant to have both Scotch Bonnet and habaneros because they're both very similar. And since the habanero is a little milder, I would go with the habanero. Similar kind of flavor too. Scotch Bonnet's got that very citrusy, strong flavor. The next one was the Carolina Reaper, and this was the one that I had the most peppers on. I had 2 plants, and I had something like 100 Carolina Reapers. The Carolina Reaper is the hottest pepper in the world. It's over 2 million. It's 2.2 million on the Scoville units. So 800 times hotter than a jalapeno. Imagine a bucket of 800 jalapenos. How many jalapenos that would be? So my one drawback with these is just they're so hot, they're dangerous to handle, but it's just even disposing of them is a problem, because just throwing them in the trash can, throwing them in the compost bin, the fumes will come up whenever time you open the compost bin or the yard waste bin. So I grew those. They grew very well here in Zone 10B. We got hundreds of them. The Carolina Reaper is a little bit larger pepper. It's got a rough skin. It's dark red, but it goes through, again, all the colors, green, yellow, orange, and then finally goes a dark red, and it does taste fairly good. I put one in a batch of chili, and I liked it. I liked the flavor. I liked the heat, but I had so many, and I tried to give them away, but then I would have to warn people. So what we decided we're going to do is to dry them. So I'll have another video on how I strung them up, and I'm drying them outdoors along the fence. And I'm going to dry them and then crush them up and make them into a hot pepper. A hot powder, yeah. A pepper powder. All right, so that's Carolina Reapers. Again, I really enjoyed it. I got a really good crop. They grow well here, but they're so hot that I really don't have a use for them, so I probably won't grow them again. All right, now let's go on to the honorable mention. As I mentioned before, we like the Serrano pepper. So we will grow either Serranos or the Cayennes, but if we can find the Cayennes, we'll grow those. But Serrano's another good one that I really like. It can be green. They can turn red, but they can be picked when they're green. It's a little bit longer, a little bit larger than a Cayenne. A long, thin, one of the long, thin ones. We also grew poblano peppers, which are fairly mild. They're about 1,000 Scoville units, but they can be spicy. And they didn't quite get as big as we wanted them to. We wanted to make chili rellenos, and you need a really long one, like, a foot long or maybe 8 inches long to make that. And ours came out small, but you can use them in tamales. So we're going to drying them out, and so we can use those in tamales. Again, not going to try. Probably won't grow those again because it takes a really long time.
I like them. We still actually have some growing out front. Yeah. I like to mix my vegetables in with my regular garden plants in the front yard, and so there's one that's still going strong.
And then one final one, which I really like, it's on my honorable mention, simply because we don't see it every year, and it is the black cobra. And this is also one that we first discovered at the 99-cent store. So that's what we were talking about. You never know what you're going to find in those discount stores.
I think that's the first hot pepper you grew here.
Yeah, the first one I tried to grow here. I grew in a pot. Now, I do grow in pots. They grow okay, but I found I do not get as big of a yield, of a harvest, as I do when I put them in the ground or in a bed. So they will grow in pots, but typically if I grow them in a pot, I will just get maybe a handful, maybe 5 or 10 peppers off of a plant. But the black cobras do grow very well. This small plant, and what's distinctive about them is that the peppers grow upward instead of hanging down like they do on most peppers. So they grow upwards off the plants, and they're black when they first come out. So you see these little black tendrils, and they look really cool.
Like the ornamental peppers when they have the yellow or the red peppers that are growing up.
But they are edible. Eventually they turn red, and they are very flavorful, and they are very hot. It's about a 20 to 30, so it's about like a Cayenne or a Serrano. And they're about this big, so it's perfect for chopping up one serving size peppers. But since we don't see them every year, it seems like, kind of a seasonal thing. I didn't have it on my main list. So that's my list for hot peppers. Why don't you leave a comment below and let us know what kind of hot peppers you like and what kind of hot peppers you grow in your zone.
Right. And if you liked the content you saw here today, give us a thumbs up. If you haven't yet subscribed to our channel, please do that. And if you hit that notification bell, you'll get a notification every time we post a new video. We really enjoy bringing the videos to you. So if you share and do those things, it really helps us grow the channel.
Okay. Thanks again for watching.
Till next time.